I'm sitting at a bar, I'm sipping a martini, and halfway through, I ask myself, why am I drinking this cocktail? I think it's something that we're just holding on to because it's considered a classic. Classics are not necessarily good.
Yeah, but they're a classic for a reason.
No, not necessarily. Some classics are just classics for their classics because we just can't let go of them. We keep drinking them because we think, oh, it must be good because people are drinking it. Let's just keep on going. And so now at this point, what chance do we have to stop the martini? It's had, 120 years of people drinking it, but we got to put a stop to it.
I don't want to put a stop to it. I want to understand more of this sort of rage you have.
So the thing is, nobody likes martinis, you included, and I'm going to use this episode to explain why.
Hi, I'm Hannah Albertine. I'm a senior editor at Infatuation and a huge martini fan, both gin and vodka.
I'm Bryan Kim, editorial lead in NYC at Infatuation. I drink a lot of gin martinis, but I don't think they taste good.
And this is Restaurant People, a show for people who eat at restaurants sometimes, brought to you by Infatuation.
Today on Restaurant People, we're talking about martinis. They're hotter than ever, but are they any good? Today, we're gonna talk about what martinis are, why people seem to like them, and then we're gonna taste a few martinis and see where things go. All right, let's get into it.
Why do you continue to drink martinis if you find them not delicious?
Martinis are everywhere now, right?
Yes.
There are increasingly wild variations of martinis in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, and all across the country. And I don't think that anyone actually likes a martini.
It's one thing to not want Parmesan cheese on top of your martini. It's another to say that I don't like a delicious classic martini that's made correctly.
I think that martinis are fundamentally a bad cocktail.
But can we just back up a little bit? Like, what is a martini?
So let's establish what kind of martinis I'm talking about. And the kind of martinis I am specifically talking about that really aren't as good as everybody thinks they are. They are the classic martinis. But the martini kind of evolved from a bunch of different cocktails, probably around the end of the 19th century. Some say, yeah, exactly, the Martinez. Some people say that it evolved from a cocktail invented in San Francisco called the Martinez, maybe invented by Jerry Thomas in like the 1860s, but
Jerry,
who
shout
knows?
out to Jerry.
Shout out to Jerry. The thing is, that cocktail's not very similar to what we drink today. It was made with a different kind of gin and sweet vermouth and like curacao and bitters.
Yeah.
The classic martini, I would say, came about in the early 20th century, probably. Nobody knows who really invented it. That's the case with most cocktails, even cocktails invented like the 1980s.
So like when you were born in the early 20th century.
Yeah, like when I was born in the early 20th century. So a classic martini has two ingredients. It has gin and dry vermouth. Or there's a variation, and I accept them both as classic martinis.
Okay.
Vodka and dry vermouth.
Oh, you're not partial to gin.
I'm not a purist. If you like vodka, have a vodka martini.
I love a vodka martini.
Yeah. I think that they are more popular. From the bartenders that I have talked to and from my own bartending experience, I've seen that vodka martinis are the more popular martini. Gin martinis are for cocktail snobs. Vodka martinis are for people who like to have fun.
I mean, they're essentially different drinks. Like, I think when I want a gin martini, I want to taste the cocktail. I want vermouth to be like really present.
Oh, 100%. So a martini typically is like a classic martini recipe might have a 2-to-1 gin to vermouth or 2-to-1 vodka to vermouth ratio. And that's it. That's what you get. It's stirred, it's shaken, it's put into a cocktail glass, a martini glass, and garnished typically with a twist. I prefer stirred generally because stirring creates a silkier texture, typically less dilution. It really depends on how long you're stirring for. Shaken, you get little ice particles and air and more dilution usually. And a weird thing I find, even though I don't think of myself as somebody who loves gin, even though I do drink a lot of gin martinis.
Yeah.
But when gin is diluted, when you're shaking it, somehow it just like diluted gin tastes worse than non-diluted gin.
I totally agree
The
with
math
you.
makes zero sense to me because gin itself is not something I love drinking straight.
Okay.
You would think adding more water would make it taste better or at least make it more palatable, more pleasant. But it doesn't. The math is not mathing with the gin.
But vodka, on the other hand, does get more palatable as you dilute it.
For sure.
Which is why I think it's good to shake it. I think, I didn't really start drinking martinis before I was 25 years old because I was just like, how do I order one? Which one do I like? What does dry mean? What does vermouth taste like? Can you shed some light on some of that?
Yeah, like what a good martini should taste like.
Yeah.
I think I am exceptionally well positioned to answer this question, not only having been a bartender and having made many martinis, probably like 10,000, 20,000, but also I drink a lot of martinis. So for anybody who doesn't know what vermouth is, it is a fortified wine. Typically there are two main kinds used in cocktails. There's sweet vermouth, and then there is dry vermouth. Why are they called that? Because one's sweet and the other one's dry. Not
Wow.
literally, but like, dry
Bingo.
means less sugar, less sweet.
You're using sweet vermouth in a Negroni.
So a good gin martini should be bracing. It should be thick, it should be silky.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's made with juniper berry, and I don't know if we can try to describe what that tastes like.
A juniper berry is a pine cone, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a seed cone on a juniper tree or plant or whatever it is. It's a tree.
I think it's a tree.
Yeah, it's a coniferous tree. And what does it taste like? It tastes like pine.
Yeah.
Maybe a little fruity, maybe
Yeah.
a little peppery. The predominant flavor is pine.
I
Sounds
go
delicious,
so far
right?
as saying like a little soapy, not bad, but a little.
Not bad. That's quite the endorsement of gin. Sounds like Hannah's on my side already. But seriously, a good gin cocktail should be ice cold. It should be bracing. It should be silky, and it should taste like perfume that you want to drink.
For sure, I agree with that.
I'll take mine with a lemon twist.
Oh.
Generally, I just usually like how the lemon oils interact with the scents of the gin.
I like olives for sure, but with gin, for definitely a lemon twist. If I'm drinking a vodka martini, which I drink for different reasons, I drink a vodka martini when I want to drink cold. So we're talking classic martinis. We're not going to get into the cosmopolitans, appletinis, espresso martinis, not because they're not worthy drinks to discuss, but your theory is that we actually do not like classic martinis.
That is indeed my theory. The other martinis are martinis. They fall under the martini umbrella, which kind of just includes anything put into a martini glass. If you want to call a Cosmo a martini, go for it. If you want to call a French martini a martini, go for it. Martini's in the name already, even though it has pineapple juice in it.
Huh.
Yeah, appletini, martini. But
Appletinis are delicious.
So when you have a martini, how do martinis make you feel? What do you get out of the martini experience?
I think I get what I would presume a lot of people get, which is drunk. I get twisted.
Yes.
When I mean, martinis, it's like, I've always heard the phrase, you shouldn't have more martinis than you do nipples.
Oh, yes, I've heard this.
And so I order 7. No. But when I'm getting a martini, it's like you are counting. You know how many you're drinking. That said, it's a great drink to start your night. You're feeling a little loose. There is a amazing place in Philly called Polizzi Social Club. And they have a martini on their menu that I believe is fat washed with olive oil, but I could be wrong. They change it up sometimes. But it is a fun place to drink a dirty vodka martini, really cold. You're in a basement. It's a members only club. So you have to sort of know someone to get in. It's been around for decades, and it just feels like you have been transported to a different time. So drinking a martini in a dark basement where there are like rosary beads on the wall and no phones allowed, like that is an experience that I think everyone should have.
So it's kind of like an exercise in nostalgia for you. It makes you feel like you're going back in time. It makes you feel cool.
It makes me feel cool for sure, but I think the other reason that people like martinis is because they like control. They like to say, this is exactly the kind of drink I want. I mean, I think there's no other cocktail really where you can demand such precision, such customization as a martini. I mean, can you think of one?
I mean, you can do that with like maybe an old-fashioned, but yeah. No,
I don't think as many variables.
Very good point. A martini, definitely, bartenders accept more customization to that drink than any other drink, and they are very accommodating typically. So for me, and I think a lot of cocktail people nowadays, a good martini is a wet martini.
So when you say wet, you mean with a lot of vermouth.
Wet means more vermouth, dry means less vermouth.
Yes.
More vermouth means that it's less boozy, but it's kind of more palatable. It doesn't just taste like pure gin or pure vodka. So if I'm drinking a martini for pleasure, I'll I'll go 2-to-1, sometimes gin to vermouth, do that ratio, or maybe 50-50, which, 1.5.
I love a 50-50.
1.5 vermouth, 1.5 gin. I would argue that's like the most pleasant version.
A bartender who I know in Philly, whose name is Justin, and he runs an amazing bar called Doom, which is a heavy metal bar where I don't think people, I think maybe the occasional drunk orders a martini, but it's not really that kind of place. He's noticed people in older generations are so much more eager to have dry martinis. They want to have bone dry martinis. They do not want vermouth in their martinis. And younger generations are more interested in a wetter martini. And his theory about that, which I think is brilliant, is that the kinds of vermouth that America had access to in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s even, it was so limited. It was basically Martini Rosso, which is gross. And now there's all these other types of vermouth, and I think bartenders and bar programs are getting really creative with their use of vermouth. And basically a martini, especially with gin, you're making the gin taste more like vermouth. Like if it's properly balanced, you're just drinking vermouth in its fullest form. The vermouth and the gin should be like talking to each other and making each other like taste more like themselves.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I still think the majority of young people are drinking dry martinis. If you go out on the Lower East Side on a Friday night, how many 50-50 martinis are you going to find?
Not a lot.
None.
Not a lot.
None. You're going to find a lot of pure vodka martinis.
Well, as you've established, the vodka martini is for people who want to get drunk.
Vodka
people who want to have
is
fun,
yeah.
Which is great. It's hard to talk about martinis and not have one in my hand.
Okay, Hannah, so I'm going to make you a classic gin martini, similar to what you might find in a nice cocktail bar in New York, Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, Austin, Texas, maybe. Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri. My point is, this is a classic gin martini. The ratios are going to be 2-to-1, so that's 2 ounces of gin to 1 ounce of dry vermouth. And I'm going to stir it for you right now. So as you know, I was a bartender before I joined the infatuation.
Yeah, you've only said it like 18,000 times.
So as you know,
I heard Time Out named you one of the best 100 bartenders in New York City.
that was actually when I was very young.
Oh.
I became an even better bartender, so I would have won that contest eventually.
Oh.
Had they kept holding it.
Right.
Just for cocktails in general, the most common request was not too sweet.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Not too sweet. People hate sugar. People still don't like
Because
sugar
they don't
in
want
cocktails.
to be hungover? What is that?
That's an excuse. People don't want the calories
They
in
don't want
sugar.
calories. I mean, martini, if we're talking cals, it's lower cal than a lot of other drinks.
Yeah, exactly.
It's automatically skinny, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
in
there's
the skinny margarita way of
there's
speaking.
no added sugar. We're not adding sugar to this. We're not adding agave. We're not adding any sweet liqueurs. Which brings me to the second most popular request that people made: make it strong. What cocktail does that sound like?
Can you think of a stronger cocktail?
So for people who don't like sugar and want to get drunk, what are they going to drink? A Negroni? Well, no. Campari and sweet vermouth has
sweet,
sugar.
sweet.
A Manhattan? Sweet vermouth again.
Yeah.
Gosh, is there any cocktail out there that just has booze and dry vermouth? That sounds like a martini.
It does sound like a martini. Look at that. Gorgeous. I also think the martini is fulfilling a similar familiarity niche as the burger. Like the martini is the burger of drinks. If you're at a cocktail bar and you're not so sure it's gonna be good, you can order a martini and like sort of confidently know what it's gonna taste like.
Yeah, it's gonna taste like gin every single time.
Every single time.
Would you like a twist, a lemon twist, or olives for garnish?
I'd like both.
Both. Interesting choice. I respect it.
Thank you.
So I'm going to squeeze this lemon peel over your drink. That is a lemon twist. You see those lemon oil droplets just kind of falling on the top there, and I'll just plop it in there. And I will give you these 3 olives on a pick that
Yeah, where'd you get that toothpick, Bryan?
I stole it from the corner store. I'm not proud. I don't usually steal from restaurants. I took one, and then I think somebody else took another
show the
one.
Camera.
These are very
Please
cute
show the camera what's going on.
picks
They're
from the
so
corner store.
cute.
The corner store, I apologize for taking these from you. I'm sincerely sorry. I'm going to have a twist as well. All right. All right, give that a sip.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers.
Wow, thanks for taking me to Teeny Town.
Of course.
Smells like alcohol and lemon. Did you just do the like wine suckling
It's a habit. I'm so sorry.
with cocktails?
I can't help it. I've spent too much time with sommeliers.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing.
It's so good, Brian. It really is. You're here to tell me that this drink you just made me is not good.
It is repulsive.
Why do you keep drinking it?
Oh, it's foul.
It's
There's just
so-
something about it. I think a martini can have immediate appeal and lasting appeal without actually tasting good. I think that is my central thesis here.
Is such like it's the amalgamation of the vermouthy flavor, which I don't know that I actually could put English language words to what vermouth tastes
Sure,
like.
you're just a writer, you know, why would you be able to do such
Can
a
you
thing?
describe what vermouth tastes like?
It tastes like a fortified wine with herbs and spices.
It tastes a little like you left your wine in the back shed for a while.
You just did it. You just
Okay,
described
fine.
it.
But it's not appealing the way I say it.
Well, maybe
but
it's not
it is kind
appealing.
of like that.
I think my all-time, well, it's not really that new of a bar, but my favorite martini in New York City right now is at the Lobby Bar at the Chelsea Hotel. It's a Duke's Martini, which means it's kept in the freezer for, it's not stirred, it's not shaken, it's kept in the freezer so that it is minimally diluted, and it's mostly gin. It's ultra thick, really luscious, and really viscous. And you drink one and you are...
You're saying we like martinis because they're strong, because there's no sugar in them, because we know what they're going to taste like, but we don't actually like the flavor of them.
Yeah, and just cool people
feel
drink
cooler.
martinis. And I think that's why we drink martinis, to feel cool, have fun, get drunk, and not ingest a lot of sugar.
I disagree with you. I think this is a delicious drink. To me, this tastes like, it tastes like gin, so it has that botanical flavor. And it also feels refreshing. Like a martini is so much more than the actual taste. A martini is the context. It's the mood you're in. A martini is like you had a terrible day and you're ready to get plastered.
100%. I think that we're almost seeing eye to eye here. A martini really does something for you, and I think that's called alcohol and getting you drunk.
A martini is the closest I'm gonna get to like a shaman-led ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica. Like this is my version of like going a little crazy. I think the world is very depressing. And sometimes you just wanna like let loose a little bit. And a martini is like the ultimate efficient way to do so. And I think another category of martini drinkers is people who feel really excited about gin.
Yeah.
Which there are people who love
But
gin, obviously.
you like a good gin.
I like a good gin martini in a bar that I know is gonna make it well.
Well, I would love for you to pick up that first little glass. You see there? That right
Yes.
there?
This one?
That is pure gin. It's undiluted. Give it a little sip while I tell you about the history of gin.
God.
Now, gin is a very old spirit. Some people say it was invented in the 1600s, but it was around before then in different forms. Really, it started out as a medicinal liquor.
I'm feeling medicated.
Yeah, so that is, if you are feeling medicated at all, well, it's the alcohol first off, but it's also the juniper berries.
Yeah.
Juniper is the main flavoring agent in gin.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing. This, much less delicious than this.
Yeah.
For our listeners,
That's
that
because-
is straight gin, much less delicious than a gin martini. Drink this
Okay.
and tell me
Oof.
it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, that is pretty gnarly. Can you name one other juniper flavored thing that you enjoy?
I can't.
Okay, you don't think that's maybe a red flag? You think maybe you don't enjoy gin? Now, why did it become popular in England? That's the question.
Because those cheeky little guys.
Definitely a lot of cheeky little guys in England, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But they also had relations with the Dutch, where it's said that like modern gin or Jennifer developed
yeah.
in the 1600s.
Yeah.
In Dutch, it was called Jennifer, and then when it became popular in England, they started calling it gin.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
In, I think, 1688, England and France were at war. England cut off trade with France, so they no longer could import French brandy. So what did they import? They imported Dutch gin. So anyways, gin becomes hugely popular in England once trade is cut off with France, right? And then all of these...
How do you know all this by a memory?
Oh my gosh, I have Wikipedia. So anyways, trade's cut off with France. Gin becomes hugely popular under William of Orange.
Sure.
And then what happens in England? The gin craze, because gin becomes deregulated in England. I think maybe due to like a surplus of grains. But then all these people start just brewing gin, distilling gin in London. And too many people are drinking gin in London to the extent that a gin craze happens and they have to do something about it. The booze caused a major public health crisis in England to the extent
that makes sense. Sure.
Yeah, to the extent that it had to be re-regulated. We don't like gin because we like its flavor. We like it because it's been forced on us due to historical circumstance.
Who forced gin on you?
William of Orange.
You know who forced gin on me?
Me?
You.
Yeah, that was me.
You, because you shamed me for drinking dirty vodka martinis when I was in my 20s. The real taste test we should be doing is an NA martini. Have you had one of those before?
I haven't had an NA martini, but an NA martini is not a martini.
Well, if your point is that martinis are not delicious because we don't actually enjoy juniper,
That's a big part of my point.
then if we try an NA martini, we'll be able to say for sure, when you take the booze out of the equation, do you think an NA martini is delicious?
Let's give it a try.
Let's give it a try.
Do you want more martinis or perhaps less martinis in your life? Check out theinfatuation.com or follow us at @infatuation on Instagram or @theinfatuation on TikTok.
All right, Brian, you ready to try my first NA martini?
I'm ready.
I'm ready too. So this is made with a gin substitute that's non-alcoholic, a vermouth substitute that's non-alcoholic, mineral water, olive brine, and bitters. We'll see how it goes.
All right, cheers.
Huh.
Emphatically not my favorite.
Yeah. It has actually, it bears no resemblance to a martini.
Yeah, it is bitter and unpleasant like a martini, though.
Oh my God, it has almost, there's like a kick in it, like a spice in your throat.
Not a good one.
I guess because the bitters are trying to overcompensate.
Not pleasant to drink. I don't mean that, like, ironically, I'm not trying to be mean to martinis. I'm saying, like, this is actually a good substitute for martinis.
Oh, you think so?
But I do not enjoy it, do you?
I don't enjoy it at all. And in fact, as someone who is in love with a sober person, he is not interested in drinking NA cocktails. He wants to drink like a soda, like a sort of like a syrup plus soda water, because he doesn't want to feel like he's drinking alcohol. So it's a very interesting market appeal. But I guess if we're talking about the point of if we liked the flavor of martini, we would like an NA martini without the booze.
That is what you were going for, so what do you think?
I think this doesn't taste anything like juniper. It's way more savory, and it really tastes like someone with your water.
Yeah.
But if that's your thing, sure. I think the booze as an actual flavor and a feeling, but a flavor, is so like integral to a martini experience.
I guess alcohol is an essential part of a martini, so
Alcohol
it's not quite fair of me to say
part.
You don't like martinis.
Yes.
I think we can find evidence of this in the way that martini trends are playing out across the country.
What do you mean by that?
So martinis are trending, obviously, but all of these martinis that you see at trendy restaurants and bars are somehow masked with some kind of agent, whether it be olive brine or pepperoncini brine. It's almost like nobody actually wants a martini. They just want something called a martini, something where the booze is masked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're appealing to a different demographic. Tell me about some of the variations you're seeing in New York.
The pepperoni martini at Stretch Pizza.
Have you had this one?
I haven't had that one yet, but I might try it.
I'm very interested in the pepperoni martini.
Caesar salad martini at Shy Shy in Chelsea. I have had that one. It comes with teeny Caesar salad on the side. Not bad. The MSG martini at Bonnie's. I think you've had that one.
Yeah, that's a polarizing one. I love Bonnie's. I love the idea of the MSG martini. I think it pushes just a little too savory for me.
Yeah, it has its fans, and I am not one of them.
Yeah.
The Katz's Martini at the View, guess what that has in it?
What?
Pastrami. The Pickle Martini and the Filthy Pimento Martini at Chelsea Living Room.
Oh.
The Kimchi Martini at NY Kimchi, you know what that tastes?
That sounds
tastes
like delicious to me.
Yeah, you know what it tastes like?
Kimchi.
Kimchi and vodka.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Have you had that one?
I have, yeah.
Do you like it?
It's okay. I like
Is
kimchi.
the kimchi infused or is it a garnish?
It's kind of like kimchi brine. So
Okay.
I'm a big fan of kimchi. I love kimchi. I
Yeah.
like kimchi brine. I don't really want vodka in my kimchi, and that's what it tastes like. So
I
I'd
want
rather
kimchi
just,
in my vodka though.
Yeah.
I
I think I
have
agree
the
with you there.
restaurant in it.
Now let's play a little game.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you 3 martinis. You tell me which one is fake.
Okay.
Blue cheese sake martini.
Real.
Bacon and eggs
Oh.
martini.
Oof.
Salt and pepper martini.
Blue cheese sake is fake.
That one's real. That is at Martini's. The fake one is
Whoa.
the bacon and eggs martini. That's fake.
I could totally see that.
The salt and pepper martini is at Temple Bar.
Yeah.
In NoHo in
That's
New
a
York.
fun game.
Yeah.
More.
All right. French dip martini.
Okay.
Caprese martini.
Okay.
Au poivre martini.
Ooh. Caprese martini is absolutely real. I think an au poivre martini is absolutely real for the same reasons as a salt and pepper martini. And I think the French dip martini is fake.
You won that time. All right. The French dip martini was fake. The Caprese martini is at Jack's on Bond
Yeah.
in NoHo in New York
Have you had that
City.
one?
I think so. Yeah, I don't remember it. The Au Poivre martini is from Le Rock in Midtown.
Le Rock.
Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
I haven't had it. I do love Le Rock. Now, would you care to tell us? I think you know about a lot of wild martini variations.
Yeah, do you want to hear about
across
some
the
of the
country.
wild martinis not in New York?
I would love
Okay, cool.
to hear about
Well,
what's going on across the country.
So I was talking to a lot of the members of our editorial team, and people have really strong feelings about martini variations, both pro and con. You know, in a place like London, there is a West African restaurant called Chishuru that has a spiced okra martini. And I just want to quote our editorial lead, Jake Missing, shout out to Jake. In his review of this restaurant, he says, this martini is made with a palm spirit that's produced in Nigeria, vodka, jalapeno, and verjus. And they have a max of 2 per customer. If you order more than 2 of these, they will cut you off.
yeah, martinis
which
get you
I-
drunk.
I
Oh, that's
respect.
why people love them.
In Boston, our editor Jonathan recently launched ratings in Boston, which is so exciting. Everyone should go check them out. He recently had the Aglio e Pepe martini at Red Fox in Boston, which has a fistful of Parmesan cheese shavings floating on top. He was not a fan. In Chicago, there's a place called Leah that has a martini that comes with a sidecar that rests in this Warhol-esque Campbell's soup can.
Okay.
The martini was bad and lukewarm.
Oh.
The name Leah stands for Life Imitates Art.
Oh.
I know. And I asked the team there about it, and Nick, our editor, wrote back simply, sigh. And in Atlanta, there's so many restaurants that have martini carts, but there's one in particular that our editor Nina said she loves, which is called Capolinia. It's an Italian restaurant in a hotel in downtown Atlanta, and it has this martini cart that's making the rounds through the dining room, and they make a huge show of these tableside martinis. There's one where they pour liquid nitrogen over the martini to make sure the glass is frosty, and there's a namesake martini that has a fat wash with olive oil, and it uses a little bergamot oil, which sounds delicious. So in short, martinis are everywhere, for better or for worse.
Martinis are everywhere, and I am so impressed by the lengths people across the country are going to mask the flavor of the martini, because nobody wants to drink a martini, but everybody wants to feel like they're drinking a martini.
Right.
That goes back to kind of the coolness factor of the martini, which is 50% of why you want to be seen with a martini. It feels cool to drink a martini. Martini is a lifestyle. It's a personality, and it's also really boozy and gets you drunk, and that's the appeal of the martini, right?
But name a food that you eat just because it's the pure flavor of it, and it doesn't have anything to do with the surroundings or the situation or the context or the circumstance. Like in the dark
food.
by yourself in your apartment, what are you eating?
In the dark, by like a peanut butter.
Okay.
Or peanut butter.
Peanut butter, like a PB&J?
Not just like peanut butter straight out of the jar.
Straight peanut butter. Okay. My point is that no one is in a restaurant, in a public setting, in a restaurant or bar setting, no one is set out to just order something for the pure flavor of it. They want the experience of eating or drinking it.
Martinis aren't about taste, they're about how they make you feel. So, Hannah, having listened to me rant about gin and martinis, have I swayed you in any way? Are you thinking about martinis differently?
In no way, shape, or form. Of course not. Martinis are delicious. What are you
Oh
talking
my
about? What are you talking
goodness.
about? They're so good.
then don't-
I am going to go get on my freaking train at Moynihan Station, and I'm going to sit at the Irish exit,
I'll have
and
a
I'm going to
martini,
drink
too.
a martini, and it's going to be so fabulous. And I'm going to get on my train, and I'm going to listen to, like, I don't know, Boy Genius or whatever, and I'm going to be home in an hour and 10 minutes, and I'm going to say, wow, I'm so glad I had that martini.
I want to come with you. I'm
with
also
me.
going to drink a martini.
So they're delicious.
Oh, no, they taste terrible, but big fan.
If this martini debate got you fired up, please share in the comments why you love them, why you hate them, why Bryan's wrong. Can't wait to hear your thoughts.
If you like this episode, be sure to follow, like, subscribe to Restaurant People on YouTube or your preferred podcast platform so you don't miss an episode.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Bryan.
This was Restaurant People, brought to you by Infatuation.